right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and joining us. We're going to be going into like an overview of Microsoft Fabric. So I'm really excited to get into this. Let's just go. All right. Okay. Why are we talking about Microsoft Fabric though? There's a brand new data platform out there. Why the heck does it matter? Well, frankly, it's because Microsoft Fabric is the first comprehensive data and analytics platform that's going to address all of your data and analytics needs that you have in the cloud. Fabric is where you're going to be able to do this. In fact, look at this little GIF I just found while it's putting together this presentation. Forrester's TEI study said a 379 return on investment. So that is massive, 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 massive. This is the future of data platforms. You really have to be in and working on it. And we're going to talk more about all of this stuff. But like this is strategically where companies are going to be going. If they are not there today, they will be there tomorrow. I can virtually guarantee it. All right. Now, who the heck am I? Some of you may know me. Some of you may not. Hey, could you take off that little banner bar on the bottom of this? That Kratos BI. I mean, love the self-promotion, but you take that off if you're paying attention, or if you can't. There you go. I'm a director of data solutions at Baker Tilly, so I help companies like you actually implement Microsoft Fabric. We're actually Fabric featured partners. We're helping companies see these amazing results. I also run a YouTube channel over like my own YouTube channel, so make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And you can find me on LinkedIn, and you know all the things. But this is the big thing now. I'm talking about best day ever. Like, we are so blessed that we get to work with these amazing tools, with these amazing capabilities, and every day just keeps getting better and better and better. I just want to get that out there. All right. Now, I got to say, I've got a vision here. I want to share this with you. This is the first time my vision for how and why I do this stuff is being published out there. And the reality is I want to be that leading source in education solutions because, and this is my mission comes underneath it, is I want not just myself, but everyone that I interact with to have the best solutions out there that help you shape, evolve, and answer business questions, right? And I know that, while you're sitting at your computer and I'm sitting at mine, we as a community want to help evolve and grow together. And so I'm dedicating my life to this professionally, and hopefully you'll join me on this journey. All right, let's get into it. Now, all right, I literally know all of these things in this presentation. I could talk at length about any of them. So I'm not here for me. I'm here for you. So if you have questions, please leave those questions inside of the chat so that we can actually get into it. Preface it with a Q so we can see that stuff. But ask a question over on LinkedIn. Just go ahead, ask anything. I'm happy to jump into it and answer that question because I want you to get something out of this. Okay. All right, let's break it down. DJ, break it down. All right. The way I think of Microsoft Fabric, because it is a comprehensive data platform, it's really going to address three key personas. Number one, that's data engineering. This is, like, what are we talking about when we say data engineering? We're talking about how do you build and manage the flow of data into and out of your system. All right. So you're managing data, you're working with bringing it in, doing your transformations, and then sending it out. And that could be sending it out to others. It could be sharing. It could be presenting, whatever it is, right? Like, that's your data engineering capabilities. Data analytics. Now, for many of you, like, you're very familiar with this. This is your Power BI space, right? So for people who are consuming and using reports, and frankly, that's your bread and butter space, because that's the layer executives who sign off on paychecks and budgets and bonuses and raises and promotions. They only touch the Power BI level, right? So make sure when you're doing this stuff, you spend a good amount of time on that Power BI at that consumption layer, even though you have all sorts of other work around the data engineering that, needs to be done, right? But don't forget data analytics, right? And then the last one, which has been the biggest thing out there, like, hey, for like, gosh, 5-10 years, data science has been a big thing. Microsoft Fabric offers a complete data science platform for you to work and operate, and we'll kind of get into more of that stuff. But these are the main categories that Fabric operates in. And in each of these spaces, it offers a very sophisticated and rich environment to work in, right? So when we talk about data engineering, these are like 5 of the biggest things that you're going to be putting on your hard hat and you're going to be getting down and doing the work on, okay? So number one, and probably the most classic thing that people are accustomed to, is that concept of a data warehouse, right? So that single place where you're bringing all your data together from all the various systems inside your organizations, you're putting schemas together, you're putting models in place, all the good stuff, right? Classically, that's one of the big components that you have inside of Fabric, okay? Next to that, one of the big things that we've been recently like really evolving to and doing more with, it's the concept of a lakehouse. And I hear you say to yourself, but Chris, what the heck is a lakehouse? And that, great question, right? Great question. Well, when the whole big data thing started to come about, and I don't know if you remember it, but I can remember sitting in a meeting and having a director ask me like, well, what's your experience with big data? And me thinking, big tables, big files. What? I mean, yes, I work with big data. But when big data came out, it really transformed how people could work with data, because they could just dump data out into these Hadoop systems and just be able to run and gain insight. So that worked really good for a little while. But one of the big challenges came out of the the data lake is that lake quickly became a swamp, and like it was just a dumping ground. There wasn't consistency in data. It was this big challenge to interact with, right? That's where lakehouses came in. So lakehouses bring together the best things from your data warehouse, be it your structure, your schema, data consistency, ACID compliance, that type of a thing. And the ability to have non-standard data types or that mishmash portion of your solution all in one place, all in one area, is what became the Lakehouse. And so this is a much more modern, quote unquote, modern version of your data warehouse that allows for that strict compliance stuff, but also that like crazy, like video files or images or long form text or audio files, whatever it happens to be, right? So that's your Lakehouse. Fabric is amazing at both of these things. And we're in our demo, we'll actually show you all of these various components, okay? Most of them. All right. Next thing is our pipeline. And just like in plumbing in your house, you've got, your data pipelines are how and where your data goes from point A to point B. And managing that at scale in the cloud can be a real challenge. Microsoft Fabric makes it super easy and very performant. It's wonderful. Now, a big thing that we've recently started in the last 5-10 years is the adoption of notebooks. People are really starting to love these cloud-based notebooking tools. Like you might have seen or used Databricks in the past. Notebooks are a great way for like keeping your code together, keeping documentation together, just making it all very relevant inside of the flow of information. Fabric has this incredible notebook experience. So like even the people who are just coming out of college and right out of business school are starting to interact and build out notebooks. Fabric makes it super easy for you to get it in and start to use this as well. And then the last kind of thing I'll touch on in here, and we'll hit on this more in another section, is the concept of shortcutting. So if you've worked in any data for a period of time, one of the biggest challenges you come into is the whole concept of copying data, right? Like, okay, load my data into my warehouse and okay, I've got it there. But you know what? I've got these other teams that have created these data marts that they're building and managing because they're going to bring in some data, they're going to mash it up, and they don't want it, you know, or I don't want it as part of the central data warehouse. I don't want their garbage data to get in my pristine, pure warehouse or lakehouse. I'm going to let them do that on their own. Well, the challenge was you'd always have to copy data from my central places into those other places. And then you got into this problem of like data management. It's like, okay, wait till it gets loaded into the central place, then load it into the other, or even the horrible side, vice versa. Like, okay, something's being managed at that lower layer, but you want to make it available to the enterprise? It was this horrible thing. Shortcuts allow you to do is, okay, I've managed it, I've defined it inside the data warehouse. I can shortcut it into that data mart or those other domains, can leverage that exact same table, that exact same file without having to duplicate that data someplace else. That saves a boatload of time and money when it comes to your total overall cloud compute and costs. And it just really makes things much more efficient for you so that you can manage your data one time. You don't have to worry about copying the stuff or running all these other processes. Okay. So these are 5 key things that data engineering does, and data engineering in Fabric more specifically offers you as part of the solution. Next piece, though, let's talk about data analytics. Now, this is the Power BI solution, and this is the #1 Gartner-rated business intelligence platform out there. Just crushing the I mean, I know Tableau is still out there, but I'm sorry, Tableau. I loved you at one point in time. You were fantastic, but Power BI's got you, and it looks like I'm sorry about your layoffs and all that good stuff, but Tableau's got a challenging future in front of it with Power BI there. But on the analytics side, you've got great dashboards that you can build out, manage, share information with. You've got these amazing semantic models. And so if you're not familiar with what a semantic model is, that semantic model brings together all of the objects that were in your data warehouse or lakehouse, joins them together, creates measures on top of them, and actually goes in and makes it available for people to share and build analytics on top of. So you can manage one semantic model and then have all of your reports inside your organization hitting that one semantic model. Again, just like we said with the warehouse and shortcuts, the semantic model means you define that stuff in one place and you don't have to manage it in all of these other places. And then your reports and analytics just hit it. And then you start to get to that true one source of truth of information so that when I pull up my sales report and I could see that sales was, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, and Mirko pulls up his sales reports, his shows exactly 1, 2, 3 as well. And there's no discrepancies, right? That all comes through managing data integration, keeping that up and running. That's your Power Query, that's your low code solution. That's also your Data Flows Gen 2, which really starts to transform yourself away from that low code solution into more of a pro code solution and start to put on the data engineering like hard hats and start to like become that citizen data engineer, right? All of that really boils down to allowing you as an individual to do some really impressive data analysis and uncover big challenges or issues inside your organization, and do so without having to have this like massive, deep technical background, right? Like you can enable people to leverage Power BI and semantic models, and it's just a draggy droppy type thing where you can go to and you can access this stuff and just generally make it available to them so that they can dig into the information. I'll tell you, one of my favorite stories about this is I created a semantic model. I had people using them. They were I had a guy who was like looking into something that was going on inside of his business, and I didn't know this. It was on a Saturday. He sat down and it was a rainy Saturday. He had some free time and he knew there was something wrong inside of his business. So he started to like drag and drop and look into things. And he uncovered that all they had to do is make one small policy change and they could transform their business from unprofitable to profitable overnight. The area he was in was federally regulated to exist, had been around for like 20 years or something like that. And they hadn't they've been running at a loss for like 10, 15 years. He found this one thing through doing some data analysis. One thing made one policy change. They became profitable overnight. So it's fantastic when it comes to working there. And that all dovetails right into the last bullet point, which is that amazing ways that you can collaborate and share your information through Power BI. Because there's the Power BI cloud service, and that's awesome for people to go in and use information. But there's also Power BI Mobile, and there's integration with PowerPoint and integration with Excel, and heck, you can even just use XML endpoints to integrate with, or how about Semantic Link, which is just an API that allows, anyone to come in and consume your information. Just super powerful, lots of capabilities here, right? And do keep those questions coming. I could see Gurprasad and Rohit. I see your questions are coming in, and Hermat. Let's see, and Noor. We will get all these questions, Hermat. We'll get all these questions at the end in the Q&A section. So please keep those questions coming. We've got those starred. It's on the back end. You're not going to be able to see it on your side. We've got a great host here. He's keeping that stuff going. So we're going to circle back on all of these because I think some of them we'll answer in the presentation. Others we won't. So we'll just keep that conversation going. Okay. Now, this is a big, big one. And in fact, the reason I've been involved in like the Microsoft Fabric journey since 2019 is specifically because of the challenges with data science. Okay. And so Microsoft Fabric offers a comprehensive data science platform. I mean, if you have data scientists, this is where they're going to want to be working, building, and developing. And I can tell you why. And this goes back to the foundations and the challenges we've always had. Big challenge. Data scientists are off in their bubble and they do some incredible work. In order to do that work, someone has to give them that information. If that information is not in a format or not in a place that they can't use or that they can use it, then they've got to build out pipelines, do all this engineering, do all the stuff to get it over to the data scientists. But when they get that information and they find an insight and say, hey, look at this, we should be doing something here, they have to pass that information back to the data engineers who then have to like rebuild and whatever logic they had to map that into a place where your analysts or your business people can actually do something. Because way too often you're going to find your data scientists, your data engineers, and your analysts are just in different places using different tools, different data, different pipelines. And it's impossible or virtually impossible for them to talk back and forth with each other. Well, I'll tell you a story. In 2019, I've been dealing with this challenge for a long time because I've been seeing that, my data scientist I was working with, they come up with a brilliant insight. An actual time it would take from the point where they had the insight to, okay, now the business can do something with it, was sometimes 3.5 to 5 years. And that completely misses all of the ability to jump on and take advantage of changes in the market and, these amazing insights. That's what Fabric brings. So now your data scientists in Fabric can do all of their thought experiments, run all their regressions, do all of their whatever it is they're trying to do and manage their model, gain insights. But they can use that exact same data that the data engineers created and managed inside their warehouse or lake, the exact same data that the data analysts are using in their reports, and they can produce their results in the exact same tools, the exact same places where everyone is working and operating. That's transformative when it comes down to time to delivery and time to market, right? So this is a deal breaker. This is a game changer. It's just something that can really, like, really, 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 like, change up all of your timelines and stuff. So that's the big one there. All right. Now, what else? Now, there's a lot, and I'm gonna really do a disservice, and there's nothing you can do in an hour to get on everything. So I'm just gonna talk about a handful of additional features before we get into like an actual live demo, so you could see some of this stuff. And then, so we're almost to the demo. So hold tight, down, buckle in. We're gonna be getting to this. All right. Big things here. I just realized I didn't. There's 3 other key components to the solution that I think really, really make Fabric just amazing. The number one, and this is funny because this was almost not a part of Fabric when it launched, but I think it's the most transformative part, and it's the concept of OneLake, where your data exists inside of one area. It's like OneDrive for data. Like they said it before, they said it again. And where did my details go? Oh, I've got an old slide here. I'm sorry, everyone. Basically, OneLake allows for that sharing via shortcuts. It's also going to allow for all sorts of additional security. And, number one, it allows you to do object level, row level security, just like you could with any other file, with any other DBMS. So it's currently on par with all of the other data solutions that are out there. So that's awesome. OneLake, though, is going to add on top of that some additional security and functionality that is just going to blow people's minds away. There's some documentations and paper out there. Do check that out. I'm trying to look for the links. I don't have it right in front of me because it's on my new slide of this. I don't know why it's not here, but do be aware of that. Next big one is Purview. And if you're not using Purview or don't know what Purview is, Purview has 3 big things. I'm going to close up my presentation on that too. Purview addresses 3 main areas. Let's see if I can remember off the top of my head. Number one, governance, right? So where is the data broadly inside your organization? So cataloging, that sort of thing. Security. You can integrate Purview into your DLP or data loss prevention security principles so that data just doesn't leave your domain, doesn't leave your network. It stays within your bounds. And if you work with PHI or PII information, super important to do that stuff. And Purview does number 3 to be identified later. I don't remember what the third one is. I threw myself off here. But the last big thing here is Entra ID. This is your old Azure Active Directory stuff. Allows you to share things, manage things in groups. So you can have some really sophisticated policies around who has access to what. You've got great data lineage. There you go, data and analytics. That's the one, data lineage. That's right. So if you want to trace your data from source all the way out to that Excel file or that PDF or wherever the heck it is, Purview allows you to see that line of sight and see that lineage. And it's not just in the bounds of a tool, right? So if you were thinking of inside of Fabric, it offers you lineage. No. Purview sits across all of Azure, right? And just like OneLake sits across all of Azure. And it will see where the data goes through any and all of its machinations, and you'll be able to track all that stuff. It's pretty impressive. Entra ID is our security side and allows you for sharing in groups and all that good stuff. If you're not using Entra ID, you should have Entra ID. It's a default level. Every organization should have it. I talked to someone who didn't have it the other day. It was like crazy. I'm like, what are you doing? Just don't. All right. And then the big thing that we have that really, really transforms why, and you know what? I'm going to say Phil is asking, we're bumping this one up. Do you think Fabric is the best tool for anyone learning data science? If so, how can we use it to enhance productivity and mastery? It's right here. Fabric is a low-code, pro-code platform built and designed so that people who just want to get started, want to do draggy, droppy, WYSIWYG things to take on like 80% of what you might need to do for data science or data engineering or data analytics. Fabric is the spot to do that. It's got all of these amazing features that just keep evolving, keep getting better, keep getting easier to use. And then better yet, because Microsoft, like I do this all the time, raise your hand if you remember the Access days, right? Where, you're using Access to build out stuff, and then, people are using it to solve problems, but then all of a sudden, like, oh crap, now I've got this whole thing trapped in Access, and now to build it out of that, pull it out, it's just nightmare. Well, Fabric and Microsoft learned from that, and so Fabric and these low-code tools are built on these enterprise-grade pro-code tooling. So everything you see is backed by enterprise scalable solutions. So if you need to go beyond whatever that 80% of a solution is that's covered by low code and get into something really technical and really complex, you can go pro code and you could do virtually anything inside of these solutions and tools at that point in time. All right. So again, Phil, best place. Like Fabric should be in every business school, in every computer science program, in every data analytics place. Every single data science program should be teaching people and the students to use Microsoft Fabric because of these capabilities. Because you can go pro code, or you could stay in low code for whatever it is you're trying to do. Okay. It's straight up, it is the best place to do that. And this is just a little aside. One of the great reasons you want that is because you want, if someone who's an intern comes up with a brilliant insight because they're coming out with some, they just see things in a new way, and they say, hey, I see A, B, C in the company. And, we did this exercise at school, and we used Python notebooks, and we analyze the data like this, and oh, look at these great insights I have. Well, that intern is going to hand over those insights to someone, and maybe they hand them through PowerPoints because, hey, they're going to present it. But then they leave, and all of a sudden that notebook or whatever it was they had to do that insight to produce those results gets left on their laptop or their VM that then gets blown away or wiped out because the intern's gone. Now that insight is lost forever and people have to recreate it. Fabric is all cloud-based. So like all of that stuff is just in that workspace. And I'll show it to you in a second, but like straight up, if you're in a company and you have an internship program, or you have people that are just starting to work with data analytics, or you have some advanced, like you should be in Fabric, 100%. This is where you should be. All right. And then probably the biggest reason why, like, it's time to start that journey today. If you haven't started already, and I mean, if you're on this call, you probably haven't started that journey yet, but you should be starting on this journey because straight up, the Microsoft Fabric is powered by Copilot. So if you're not familiar with it, Copilot, which is on all the news everywhere, it's the AI that can help you generate and build any type of content you want. So Fabric has got all sorts of that for you to build on. So if you need help building a pipeline, Copilot for data pipelines. If you need help writing a notebook, there's a Copilot for helping write a notebook. You want to create a report, do some analysis, understand your data. Copilot can help you with that too. Now, it's not the catch-all be-all. It's the Copilot. You're still the pilot. You don't the fact that a Copilot enters the cockpit doesn't mean the pilot gets off the plane. No. You're still flying, but Copilot's there to help you broadly across the Fabric space. And I'm going to tell you a little secret here. The reason why Fabric is growing and doing so well for so quickly is because Microsoft engineering is using Copilot to help them generate the code that builds out these tools and these capabilities. They've done brief assessments, and this isn't like formal, so don't like take them to the bank, or it's not like a formal study, but like they're reporting a 12x increase in performance on their ability to deliver and develop robust solutions in Microsoft Fabric. So while Fabric is technically coming up on 1 year of the general availability, and out for like 18 months, in that year, it is matured by 12 years. That's how fast and solid this platform is evolving and shifting. So, I mean, that is transformative when it comes to working in a platform, right? So, like the ability to have that stuff at your fingertips to get you up and running is just awesome. All right. Okay. But like we've done enough of this stuff. Gotta loosen up. We're gonna head into a demo, all right? And then we're gonna get back and talk about next steps and everything. All right. Let's get my demo up here. Where'd it go? Okay. All right. Oh, man. Jumping ahead of myself. Okay. So Microsoft Fabric, 100% started with, Fabric we know today is taking advantage of the Power BI platform that so many companies are using and know and love. Okay. In fact, the big thing is like how and where do you go to get to Microsoft Fabric once you're logged into Power BI? It's this whole concept of personas, or you can go down here in this little window down here and just click on Microsoft Fabric to get over to all of these different experiences. Okay. Now there's a whole bunch of different things out here. I'm going to hone in on the data engineering, the data analytics, and the data science portion of this. But like straight up, if you're an analyst, you might need to like really do some real-time intelligence. Like straight up, that's a big thing. Real-time intelligence and streaming information in. Gartner says 80% of data by 2025, which like, I don't know about your calendar, but that's like in 4 months. 80% of data is going to be in real time and availability. That's insane, right? And so inside here, you might see a whole bunch of different things that we're not going to spend a lot of time on, but holy cow, look at this. Like Data Activator. All right. If you're not familiar with Data Activator, this is the capabilities for that allows you to actually just go do something with the data. Like something occurs, like, I don't know. I think the big one is that they talk about all the times in demos is like, my refrigerators at my grocery store one of them's too warm or it's getting too warm. Send a tech out to lower the inventory. You can now do that with low code tools so that people in your organization can now take advantage of these things. The Data Activator deserves its own live stream. We're not going to do that right now. So, but there's all sorts of different things out there. We're going to hone in on my data engineering experience. Okay. So if I click on data engineering, it's going to, this is the experience I'm going to bring up. It's going to prompt me for like, hey, do you want to create a Lakehouse or maybe a notebook? What are we doing? Are we creating some environment? All sorts of things are it's going to prompt me to create. And better yet, it's going to say, hey, do you want to like just see a sample? Right. And you can click on, they've got lake houses, they've got notebooks. You can just go in and test out. Now straight up, it does not take a long time to create this stuff. In fact, I'll show you here. I'm going to create my lake house here to Fabric. But like you can see, I'm not typing right. So you can see how this goes. And you know what? Yeah, oh my gosh, look at that. Lakehouse schemas are now available in public preview. Okay. Now that's exciting. So yes, I want to use schemas on this because I want to test that stuff out. So yes, I'm going to create schema with it. Now, my Lakehouse is being created, and like this generally, you can fill out tickets, you could send requests into IT. But wait, now my Lakehouse is already available. Right. Like there we go. I've got my Lakehouse, and now I could just go into getting data, and I could super easy, right? But we have a lot to cover, so I'm just going to go over that template, that Lakehouse template that was out there, that sample database. You just by clicking on this, like in less than 5 minutes, all of this information is available. You can see that. Come on now. Of course, it's spinning up, and you gotta be aware that like the demo gods are out there, and they will get you if you're not on top of the ball. But you can go in and you can leverage this the sample Lakehouse to see all sorts of different pieces of information that are available. You can see the files that are used to upload, and look, that's just a Parquet file, right? I zoom in, it's just a Parquet file that's been brought in, and then we run some analysis on it. Okay. But I have access to, when I'm in data engineering, I can create any of these things really easy with just the push of a button, just a click of a few things. Like I already created my Lakehouse. In fact, my Lakehouse out here, yeah, overview fabric Lakehouse is there. I could go in and create a warehouse. So overview a warehouse. I could create that puppy. Boom. Now this is up and running again. All of this stuff is super easy to create. As you can see, I'm not scripting anything, at least from the front end. I could always open Visual Studio up from the back end and script out the creation of all these objects, okay? And in fact, one of the things that's inside of the workspace is our Git integration. So right here, I can connect it into my Azure DevOps, but I could also connect it into GitHub. Looks like I've got to turn on that feature, but I've got both of these available for me, so I can do my integration. I can manage my code here, right? Now, I won't go too much deeper in this stuff, but we'll quick head on over to my analytics overview. And again, inside the analytics space, now, this is going to be one of the mature spaces that are out there, so we won't go too deep into this stuff. But I could go in and I could create. Oh, hang on a second here. What I do? I forgot to turn over to my Power BI experience, and then go into my data analytics space. Right. So now I'm in here. I've got access to create all of the classical analytics capabilities, so reports, Azure reports, data flows, even data marts, right? So if you're not using the fabric yet and you want to create a data mart, you can do that right in here. Now note, because we often have to wear many hats, there's this more options button right here. If I click on that, I get access to all of the capabilities that any of the hats that could be out there that could be using, right? So maybe as an analyst, I need to create an API for GraphQL for some reason. I don't know how or why that would be a thing, but maybe that's something I needed to do, right? All of these capabilities are at my disposal right from within that workspace, right? But if I go into my data analytics, I can even go in and here, let me show you this report. Now, one of the coolest things that Fabric offers is the ability to get quick insights on a data set. So this is an example of a report that was completely 100% generated by the AI inside the service to tell me about a data set that I'm consuming. And straight up, while maybe it's not perfect and maybe I don't have all of my key measures in place, it's not bad. Like it's got, okay, what's my most popular color at the reseller level? Oh, black, yellow, silver, red, and blue. Awesome. That's interesting. Right? So this is clearly a color-based thing that it's honing in on. But it takes one dimension and it breaks out by that. Okay. Well, maybe I wanted to overview things, so I'm going to break this out differently. But I can go in and I can make those edits, right? Like I could go in and I could change the edits on this. No, it's the on object that's enabled. Rosie. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not Rosie anymore. It's Miguel. Miguel on object by default, huh? It had to be today. But I could go in and I can make whatever the changes are I need to this. So maybe I don't want a cluster bar chart, but I want an area chart. I don't think that or a tree map chart. I don't think that makes a ton of sense, but I could do it, right? I could just go in and make these changes on whatever it is I'm looking at to evolve what I'm looking at. But again, super easy from within my workspace. We won't save that, to go in and just create a new report, right? I could create a report. I'll pick a published semantic model. Here's my data god model. And honestly, that auto create report, that's what created that report that you just saw right there. All right, but I'm running out of time. I'm getting excited about this stuff. Let me get on to my data science overview. Again, I'm not a data scientist. I don't, who was asking me about data science? Bill, I'm not a data scientist. I don't know anything about data science. You know what I did is I leveraged some of those templates to get started out there. So I've got this data science time series project that's up and running. If I wanted to understand how these things go together and how to build these things out, I've got code available at my fingertips that I can go in and take a look at. I can look at these different environments. I can just go in and consume all these things. And again, I want to put on my data science hat and create something new. I just put on my data science hat and I can just create something, right? So I could add in an AI skill, or I could create a new ML model, whatever happens to be. I have access to those things, and I can leverage these samples to learn how they are. And I can do it right from within this service, right from within the tooling, right? So what a fantastic capabilities here, right? Now, all right, let's bring this horse into the stable, as my pastor said the other day. What are your next steps here, right? Like, how do you get started on these things? Well, number one, you're going to follow me on YouTube, all right? So Kratos BI on YouTube, it's the only way to go. I don't even think there are other channels that talk about Microsoft Fabric. There are lots, right? There's a whole bunch of good ones out there. But follow me on kratosbi.com. Start your own journey over on Microsoft Learn site. This getting started with Fabric is top notch. This is really good. It'll really get you up to speed and able to like really dig in, deliver. In fact, hey, look at that. I even got a link for you in the channel. So do check that out. Also, my website, kratosbi.com. There we go. That's a good one. You hopefully you should get promotion doing this stuff. It is so easy to really change your career here. It's unbelievable. And then my last recommendation is connect with the community. All right. There's so many great communities out there. Look for a user group near you. Microsoft's got a whole site that outlines the thousands of user groups around you. If you don't have one near you, hey, check out the Madison Fabric user group. We've been all in person. We're starting to shift to doing some in person, but all of them online. So you can come and join us. You can hang out with me, ask me questions, all of that good stuff. It's really your best way to get involved. And then straight up, you need more help though. It's what I do for a living is I'm a consultant, right? Like bring me in as a consultant to take on your project to help you out. We're currently helping out on a ton of these different capabilities for you to we're able to help. We're helping a ton of companies get up and running inside of Microsoft Fabric, and the ROI and the solutions we're building out are truly impressive. All right. And with that, we're going to be heading over to Q&A. So we're going to be turning over to your questions. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. And remember, it's the best day ever because we get to spend it talking about data and spend it with you guys. Have a great day. All right, let's head to Q&A. Mirko?
Yeah, I'm back. Thank you so much. So, all they like it. So you can get some kudos for Chris. You're on the bottom. Yeah. Wow, I have to change in the certificate. I have to cut the short introduction. And here one question put it directly here. It's
when does it?
From Amod. You only have to ask your question here in the chat, and I put it to the Q&A section. And I think that's the only thing you have to do. Yeah. Also, all the people who love to network here on LinkedIn, you can add a hashtag here in the chat and write Lions. So stands for LinkedIn Open Network. So we can all connect on each other and we know that you are interested in. Okay. So some short marketing introduction. And in 3 days, we have the next live stream. We talk about the AI Act. So you can hear what we Germans and European guys have for new interesting rules to have AI in companies and governance. So if you're interested in, you are welcome. And the last is you can join us on Meetup to see all the next events and also, I hope get some good reviews from you. So I rank a little bit higher. But now we will go to the Q&A. Whoa, there was a lot of questions this time. Here's the first one from Anand. Is Microsoft gonna to stop premium capacity license cost comparison between premium capacity, which only contains Power BI, whereas in Fabric we have other tools too. It's charged different for each service we use or have combined plans.
So that's a great question. Number one, all Power BI premium capacities have all of the Fabric. I believe they have all of the Fabric capabilities already built into it. At some point in time, that may not be true, but I will say that they stopped selling premium capacities on July 1st of this year. So you can't create a new premium capacity. You can only create new Fabric capacities, except for the embedded Power BI Premium embedded. So if you're an ISP and you're selling Power BI consumption, you can still just buy that narrow band. Otherwise, all of the classical Power BI Premium capacities are now Fabric capacities. All right. And the only time you'll still see a premium capacity out there are on enterprise agreements that have verbiage in there that say that they have to maintain that for 3 years. So at most, a Power BI premium capacity in a classic sense will be out there for 3 years. I believe the intention is that the functionality will have parity with Fabric. That may not be the case someday. So converting from a premium capacity over to Fabric is 100% of best practice. These are toggles. These are like toggles in a workspace. So once you have the capacities out there, you just turn it on and it just goes. So super easy. Great question though, Hermant.
Thank you. Here next, Laura, you are a second time here, right? Can you share some real world examples of how business have successfully implemented Microsoft Fabric?
That's a great question. We're working, so follow me on Baker Tilly, and we're working on some case studies where we can actually publicly talk about the client's names. Like that's still, just share names, of people. But it's going over, there's kind of there's 3 big use cases where Fabric is knocking out of the park. Number one, very small businesses, right? So Fabric is great for companies that are trying to really manage and want to keep a very low spend when it comes to working inside of Fabric and Azure. They want a real low cloud spend. Like for $50 a month, I know you can get a Fabric capacity up and running, manage all your loads, combine that with some Power BI Premium or Power BI Pro licenses, and like you can run it $50 a month. It's hard to find any other service in the cloud that you can do for that low price. Okay, so that's going really well. And for small companies, Fabric does everything. You're a rock star. Medium-sized companies are also finding that they're able to do everything they need to do inside of the cloud service, inside of Microsoft Fabric. And so we're seeing lots and lots and lots of people taking old on-prem or old cloud solutions and migrating them into Fabric, and they're gaining flexibility, they're lowering costs, they're driving ROI, and it's becoming like they're all so delighted because all of the tools they need are in one place, and they manage, like Once you have Fabric on, you don't have to worry about managing like, your warehouse, your Lakehouse, your storage accounts, your data factory instances, all of these things that you had to inside of Azure manage just become simplified inside of Fabric, and they're all integrated together, so you don't have to worry about networking nightmares and all that good stuff. So yeah, tons of medium-sized businesses are getting big results there. And then in large businesses, what we're finding in like enterprise customers, like 3,000 and higher, they're rapidly moving in to experiment, to play with, to understand how it functions, works. But they're actually actively taking advantage of a lot of the capabilities that Power BI, with Power BI Premium having all these capabilities, because they're all in one place, it gives them the ability to like stand up, experiment, and run and operate with one real cloud bill, right? So that department that has a P1 or F64, they're now enabled to do all sorts of data analytics, data engineering, and data science things, all with one price tag. So even the enterprise customers are absolutely loving it. It's fantastic. Great question.
Yeah, thank you. The next one is from EMT. This shortcut is like a referencing, like we create views in DB, or we all call data from different tables and combine and create our required information.
This is a fantastic question too, Herman. Like, I don't know if you give out like points to your followers, Mirko, but like Herman should get 100 data and AI points for this question. Because while some people I've heard refer to it as a view because conceptually there's some things that are similar there, I don't like that comparison because you're like a view I've always seen as like sitting on top of the data, and that view can be view on view on view on view on view, and you can add logic in views, and you could do all sorts of stuff to make that virtualization become non-performant, right? Like it could be like, because everyone's wanted this type of thing forever. Like, oh, we rolled out ELT, so we do one load and then we okay. Most of that's BS because it's view on top of view on top of view on top of view, and then performance just becomes dog slow. No. You're sharing out a direct consumption link to that Parquet file itself, right? That it just with one standard definition, with one Parquet file, and it just appears in that other place. So while it has a lot of common qualities of views, the fact that you're going right to that data and that data appears like it's just right inside of that cluster. And in fact, I believe there's some like back-end caching so that like, let's say you've got two Fabric capacities and one's in one place and one's in another, and you're sharing, like you're sharing a Parquet over, I believe it caches that Parquet so that it is local, and it's not, you're not joining like tables in the US with tables in India. No. You're drawing things right at that foundational layer. So it's a little bit different than views. But I think importantly different. Great question. Oh no, we've got to wrap up.
We got two.
Okay, good.
The double question.
Yep.
From Guri Prasad. I don't know how to pronounce it right. When to use Fabric versus Azure?
So Microsoft has already publicly stated like Fabric is the future of their data platforms. Anything and everything else outside of Fabric will eventually be moving into Fabric. Okay. So now that doesn't mean that there's feature parity between like Data Factory and Azure Data Factory. In fact, I think there are a handful of very niche things that Data Factory allows you to do that, Azure Data Factory allows you to do that Fabric Data Factory doesn't, but they're very small. And in fact, all new functionality will be going into Fabric Data Factory before, and if it ever makes it to Azure Data Factory, is very much a question in the air. So if you're starting anything new, unless there is a feature that you just straight up cannot do without, definitively do Fabric. okay? And I don't know what the list of things that ADF has that Fabric doesn't. They're not super long. I know they're out there. I've been in a handful of situations where we've had to recommend it because of that, but like it's not, the idea is use Fabric. Okay. Good questions.
That is the second question. If have already built ADF pipelines, how to migrate to Fabric?
Great question. Number one, so I'm not the guy who does this stuff on a day-to-day basis, but believe you could just migrate them in. So you could take that code that's in your Git repo and just deploy it into a Fabric space. You have to do like a couple things to like reconnect it and whatnot. At some point in time in the future, all Azure Data Factories will just kind of be in Fabric. That could be several years from now, because what will happen is they already have guidance on how to convert. You can follow that guidance. What will come after that is, I think the idea is, or what they've done in the past is, like with analysis services moving into Power BI semantic models, is they publish a button where you can just go in and say, okay, of my data, Azure Data Factories, here's one. Push the button, ask where do you want it to be, and you choose which capacity it runs in and what workspace and move it over. That's something that's going to happen in the future. Well, come along after that is typically it's, that thing you stood up over here, now it just kind of is here. So I would be prudent in how I manage this. I would want to take advantage of new functionalities and features that Fabric has to offer. So I would kind of like lay out a strategy of like convert your ADF pipelines when you need to touch it and use a feature that Fabric Data Factory has that you want to leverage. Okay.
The next very famous question: could we get the deck?
Can you get the deck? That's a good question. If I could, let's see,
download, and then
let me see if I can.
So we can try it out, and then I put it in the recap, and then can all.
Here we go. I've got a public facing view link. Where did the stream go?
Yeah, we can try it out, and then put it in the recap when we. So.
Boom. How do you like them apples?
Okay.
All right, there you go.
Next one. The shortcuts. Do you see any security concerns?
What's that? I see. With shortcuts, you see any security concerns? Straight up, no. Okay. Number one, because shortcuts and OneLake already offer all of the existing capabilities that all of your other data sources and like it does row level security, does object level, like your strip could be great there. This is going to only add in functionality that no other data platform can do because Microsoft is integrated to the edge with Purview, you're going to get that DLP protection as well that you're going to be able to configure in the future. So it's not there like today, but it 100% it is there. Oh, look at this.
Okay, next question, and you say 100% yes. From Phil, do you think Fabric is the best tool for anyone to learn data science? And if so, how we can use it to enhance productivity and mastery?
We did this one. Keep going. No, you got it. You heard this one.
And the last one is enter the new Azure Active Directory.
100%. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, then we have all the questions. So thank you for attending to all the people. And don't forget to visit kratosbi.com and take your certificate. Yeah, and I say thank you so much for staying here. So please give some kudos. And yeah, a lot of lions I see. So okay, it's one question. We have got one more question. Second, I take it on last question on the stage from Phil. How we can use Fabric effectively for data movement and integration without data duplication?
Yeah, OneLake is straight up the secret and the key. By using OneLake and shortcuts, allows you to manage your Parquet files in one place, and then share that information via shortcuts to others, and you don't end up having to like duplicate any data. In fact, here, let me show you. Workspaces, marketing data. All right. So this is my marketing domain data. So my marketing team manages this Lakehouse. All right. Now, they manage data feeds that go into this environment, but they have some information that they get from the central IT team. And you can actually see this is their Lakehouse. Everything looks like it's inside of their Lakehouse. All of these tables are in here, except you can see that the number of these tables have the shortcut icon on them. Okay. These are tables that are not managed by the marketing team, that these have been shortcutted into this Lakehouse. So that marketing team doesn't have to manage them at all. That central IT team or that other domain that's managing data, is publishing these other objects. But then marketing just has to worry about managing the customer table, right? The marketing team owns in this, this company, marketing owns the customer information. So they manage that one dimension, and then everything else is brought in from that central source. So you see they're all centrally managed, right? But that allows that this domain user can really, really take advantage of like, okay, they know and they own the customer domain. They use it, they manage it, but then they can take advantage of everything else. Fantastic question.